Next movie. Seeing that we've now had a wardrobe change.
Yes.
Disturbed t-shirt as he groups. Let's go with X-Men First Class.
Okay. How good is this prequel going to be? I mean, we've already established the X-Men universe in Hollywood
that's the only thing. Let me get that out of the way. The only real con that I've found with X-Men First Class, no real paying attention to the continuity, because there are things that are just thrown out completely. They call it a prequel. I think it's a reboot.
I think, yeah, I'm going to classify it as a reboot.
I think it's going to stay being considered as a prequel, but let's be honest, all of the write-ups thus far, you know, for any of the movies, whenever they're actually written, they don't really pay a great deal of attention to timeline. So, to be fair, yeah, it's kind of like comic books, really, at the end of the day, isn't it? We've just written a prequel story. How can we fit it in with continuity?
I will say this, though. I think the movie was, as a reboot, fantastic. As a prequel,
dreadful.
So I'm going to label it as a.
Let's label it as a reboot. Let's just look at the movie on its own merits. Let's
say,
as much as we can, ignore the 4 movies that have come before, and just talk about it on its own. The biggest, most amazing part, out of the way, right off the bat, Fassbender as Magneto.
Brilliant.
The movie should just be Magneto. It should just be called Magneto and some other guys.
Absolutely.
Because he's absolutely brilliant. You know, I'm putting an awful lot of people very short, but to be honest with you, the majority of the cast was really good.
Yep.
But Fassbender...
Oh, I love you! Oh, I love you!
Stole the movie.
Yes. James McAvoy was good as
and they had great chemistry as well,
very good,
which was fun, because you really don't want him to take that final step into being Magneto.
No.
You want him to actually carry on being Eric Lensher.
Yep.
Just, you know, one movie longer, so that he and McAvoy can carry on talking and, you know, possibly argue about the state of mutant affairs.
And it had one of the best death scenes I've ever seen.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but no, the way he was acting, the only downside really is the fact that his accent fluctuated a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why it wouldn't work as a prequel, because of the fact that Eric Lensher having such a fantastic British accent in all the other movies.
Yeah.
Because it's Ian McKellen, who also happens to be Gandalf.
Yes.
One man as Gandalf and Magneto. You couldn't breed a more superior human being than
Absolutely.
that. You know, try and build it in a lab. No, not going to happen.
Yummy.
But no, he had this American accent. Sometimes his real Irish accent would come through.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he was born in Germany, his German was fantastic. So, and his German accent was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. The bar scene was awesome.
The bar scene, yes, where he's actually, what was it, with a farmer and a tailor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took him out.
That was
no
great.
effort.
No effort whatsoever. It was that menacing to it. He's almost like basically if Magneto had a little bit of Hannibal Lecter about him. You know that Hannibal Rising movie? It should have been a lot more like what Magneto was doing in First Class.
Yeah,
you know? And then it would have been more entertaining. You could feel that.
Yeah.
He was a stalking predator. He not so much like a shark where it's just like incredibly obvious. He was kind of like a panther, sort of like hiding out like in the jungle a little bit.
Oh, I love you. Oh, I love you.
First thing you see the eyes and you're like, it's a cat. No, it ain't. It's Magneto.
So we've pretty much established that Duke wants to have Fassbender's babies.
Oh yeah. But my insights are all wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I love you. Fassbender was great. McAvoy was really good. I really enjoyed his take on Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that it was set in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis, because it was so... there were some parts of that film, like when he was trying to recruit people at the bar, he's trying to hit on girls, everything's groovy, man. You've got a groovy mind.
He does actually grow into a Professor Xavier.
Oh yeah. He becomes a professor at the end of the movie, but...
Well, technically speaking, he gets given the position as a professor.
Yeah.
Early on in the film. But then later on you actually end up going, yeah, that's the man that's going to become Professor X. Yeah. He's actually on that cusp.
I do love the fact that they use the same mansion.
Yes.
From all three films, the same mansion that they used in the first X-Men trilogy, they used again for First Class. I love the fact that they kept that.
Which makes it a bit more baffling, this whole kind of reboot prequel thing, really,
Well,
doesn't it?
I know.
Because, you got like Rose Byrne playing Moira McTaggart,
McTaggart.
who already turned up in X-Men The Last Stand as a much, much younger woman, and everything
She
else,
was a doctor.
And she was in this one, she's a CIA agent.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, having Moira McTaggart working as a CIA agent, fine, okay, that's just basically putting a name, an established name in the comic book, on a character to be able to actually make it gel a little bit easier with the fans, kind of thing. But her character was good.
Yeah.
Her performance was very good.
Yeah.
And it actually did work very well over the course of the movie. Even their new interpretations on Havoc, who instead of having his beams coming out of his hands, or his arms, I should say, he actually has this array to fire it out of his chest, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was cool, and that worked. And I quite liked that. But there were. Well, I was going to say there were a couple of characters. There wasn't. There was one character that was just fluff and had no point being in the movie at all, except for just this one solitary, stupid purpose, and that was Angel.
Right, Angel. Yeah.
She was there purely, and I'm sorry, again, spoiling it if you haven't already seen it. If you haven't already seen it, you didn't go to the cinema, clearly. If you're waiting for the DVD, watch this after you've watched the DVD. But just to point out, essentially, having her just being the character in that film, just so that she can actually leave the X-Men and move over to the Hellfire Club, just so that then there is one character that does it. Yeah. And then afterwards, she wasn't really much of a threat afterwards, I didn't feel any great amount of suspense when Banshee and Havoc were taking on Angel. It just didn't.
No.
It didn't really work with me. As cool as it looked, it just I was like, well,
I would agree with you on that.
Taking on Bug Girl.
I think I would agree. Her character was kind of pointless. I think Beast was very well played.
Yes.
Um,
Best of the young ones though, Mystique.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
I forgot-
Jennifer Lawrence.
Thank you. I've
is
forgotten the actress. I think
fantastic
she was
as Mystique.
amazing. I would, I got to be honest with you. She completely blows away the performance over Rebecca Roman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Completely.
The one character, the one actor that just floored me, and it's hard for me to
Other
look
than
at this.
Fassbender, obviously.
Other than Fassbender, that I
Oh,
was
I know where you're
so
going with this.
pleased that he went so well in this film.
'Cause so
and
many
he
people-
played such a
So
good
many
character.
people said that he didn't, but at the end of the day, I was
thought
amazed
he was
by him.
brilliant. Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Yes, Kevin Footloose Bacon.
Yay!
Now let's make another thing perfectly clear. Just like every other X-Men movie that's been made, not the most truthful to the source material.
No.
He's not quite the Sebastian Shaw that we know in the comic books.
But he works in the film.
For all intents and purposes, an adaptation of the character. He was very much. Now, let's be fair. The creation of Sebastian Shaw was clearly an A to Z rather, whatever, of supervillainy.
Yes.
You have a little bit of Lex Luthor thrown in there. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor
Yep.
sort of like thrown in. You have a little bit of the Magneto from the X-Men trilogy.
Yep.
You got a couple of little things thrown in there. But the fact that he performs it so well.
He also had a bit of Darth Vader in him.
Oh yeah.
We're
not just on about
creator.
We're not just on about the helmet either.
No, just the fact that he was responsible for Magneto being Magneto.
Yeah.
He is responsible for, Eric Lencher becoming the badass
Magneto.
that he is.
Yes, absolutely.
And he takes credit for it.
He's pleased for it. Yeah.
He's pleased that he's turned this kid, this harmless little Jewish
Into a
kid,
weapon.
into a weapon, and he knows that this weapon is going to go and become the greatest weapon in the world. And the fact that he can
And more than that, an enigmatic leader as well.
And then you flash forward from the German concentration camps to a Cuban yacht, a yacht in the middle of Cuba where he's sipping margaritas and stuff like that, and basically going
Mojito.
Yeah, he's sitting there going, what are you going to do? I can absorb pretty much everything that you give me and then shoot it back to you, and I cannot be touched. So I thought he played it brilliantly. Can I talk about it now?
Yes.
Can I talk about
yes,
that?
absolutely. Spoiler!
Has one of the best death scenes I've ever seen on
film.
It was just
Painful.
It was painful to watch it.
Not in a way as in you actually sit there and you're going, oh god, I don't want to watch it, I don't want to watch it.
It wasn't cringeworthy.
You're
It
actually
was
sitting
like,
there and you're actually going, no, Eric, don't,
do it.
please,
and
don't.
then when he does it, I honestly, at one point, I was like, because the way that they edited it was so perfect, because the way he dies, they cut to Xavier.
You got like a coin, a Nazi coin,
Yeah.
that is being used, and Magneto is slowly pushing it from the front of Sebastian Shaw's skull, his cranium.
All the way through.
All the way through, and they do the shot completely by the side, and at the same time, because of the fact that Professor Xavier is in fact actually holding Shaw still,
Yeah.
and is therefore pretty much giving him license to make this happen.
Yep.
And he's screaming.
And Xavier is screaming in absolute pain because he
and
is
despair.
feeling.
I dare say it's despair.
Yeah,
more
but
than
he's
pain,
also
really.
feeling what Shaw is going through. And the whole time, Sebastian
And that
Shaw
shift.
has one face.
in Lenshire as well.
Yep. And it's just one of the best death scenes I've ever seen in a movie. It is so...
Wow.
Matthew Vaughn's direction is actually brilliant.
Yeah,
you know,
it was very well done.
as a step one, it really does completely blow away anything that Bryan Singer did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Matthew Vaughn is a very, very talented director, and as a first part to a series of movies, it's a hell of a lot better than the first X-Men.
Yeah.
I would say it's my favourite X-Men movie,
I would have to say it is, too.
hands down.
I would say, too.
You
yeah.
know, and probably because of the fact that it actually really had to rely on the fact that it's a case of, oh, well, we don't have the cool factor of Wolverine in the movie to be able
Although
to
he does make a
despite
10-second
the cameo,
yeah.
just like Rebecca Roman's cameo
Yeah.
as an adult version of Raven.
Yeah.
You know,
So
out
what
of
do you
five?
think? Out of 5, I would say...
Pros and cons as well.
Pros
actually.
and cons.
Pros and cons. So, well, personally for me, pros basically. Brilliant starting point for like a new trilogy or a new
Yep.
series. It's brilliantly directed, fantastically acted. Fassbender is brilliant.
Yes.
Even the smaller characters seem to be really, really good.
Yep.
You know, like Emma Frost. What little she was in it, she was absolutely fantastic. All of the kids
Yep.
that stay in the X-Men, fantastic. Even though a lot of them got Americanized and boulderized quite a bit. But
Yeah. Cons?
cons, I would say that as a prequel, it doesn't work at all. I would say that the fact that they work so hard on the characters that they do actually completely overshadow the Cuban Missile Crisis actually being a really big thing.
Yeah.
So when you actually get to see it, it's more like you're worried about their personal dread, not about the fact that this war is going to kick off. You know that's why they're acting, but you don't actually really feel it. I would also say, you know, Angel, weak. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sure she's a lovely girl, but it was just, I didn't identify really with her at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was a shame that Darwin went out the way he did. I would say I'm going to go with a 3.5, just because of the fact that really, I'm taking 1.5 away just because of the fact that they're adamant that it's a prequel.
My pros were highly entertaining from beginning to end.
Well, yeah, well, that's saying.
Fassbender again was fantastic.
Yes.
Bacon, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jason Fleming as Azazel.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant, just
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant, but woefully underused, like he is in every
Everything
movie
he
he's
does,
ever
yeah.
been in.
They wanted to make it their own, which is why I still classify it as a reboot and not a prequel.
Yeah.
No matter what any of you say, it's not a prequel.
Ah.
Okay? It's not a prequel, it's a reboot. Say it with me. Okay.
Reboot.
Reboot. So-
Nobody's gonna get that
No,
joke.
they're
No.
So what? So yes, those are the pros. The cons. I'm a bit indifferent with January Jones as Emma Frost, but
She was still good.
she was still good. She was good. She was nice to look at. To see a bit more of the whole Cerebro, the government thing. I wanted to see where they were going with that one because we all know
Make
that
it a bit more of an X Factor kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not on
wanted-
about the really terrible TV show.
No.
Where are the X Factor? No.
No, I wanted to see them being more involved with the government.
So basically, if they could have actually, you know, basically made it government funded to stretch into a second movie before becoming independent,
Yes, that
and
would have
maybe
been
have
fantastic.
Magneto, so like, you know, become Magneto maybe in a second film, that might have actually
Yeah.
made it even
I
better.
think so, yeah.
So stars. Star me, baby.
Star, I think on this one I would give it another 4.
Another 4.
Yeah.
So relatively quite satisfied with the
I was actually quite satisfied with X-Men. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, Duke's got a
Sorry,
serious
Mike.
chub for the guy.
Oh boy, you're not getting fed today.
Does he make your butt hungry?
I'm having a hard time staying sat down
I
like
bet
this.
you did. I
Homoeroticism on live from your mother's basement.
I can't say that that's geekdom at its worst. Let me tell you.
Let's be fair, everybody actually thought the same thing. The second that they saw Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark, we were like, yes, we would let that man do us for free.
For free?
Well,
No, you'd have to give me a bloody suit.
yeah, I always have a weakness for a nice three-piece suit with a nice waistcoat.
I'll let him give me the Mark II. The Mark 5.
Focus,
Sorry, we're not talking about Iron Man. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're gone from X-Men to Iron Man.
Ooh,
I
bit hard to
think,
pull yourself back in, isn't it?
seriously, yeah.
So, Mojito.